test if you want.
All right. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yatha Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivishakam Vidam Scha Om Agyana Timaranda Shagyana Jana Shilakya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasma Shri Gurave Namah Gorva Bistam Supurakam Guraganara Sisha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipanam Shri Rupa Patanugam Govinda Abhidam Ujwalam Varatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Vande Vishwa Gurun Shah Divyat Bhagavat Prem Noe Bija Pranam Devam Divyatanum Suchanda Varanam Balarka Chelan Shitam Sandrananda Puram Sadeka Varanam Vairagya Vidyamburim Sri Siddhanta Nadim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Bandetam Shubharam Mareka Sharanam Nyashishwara Shidaram Vansha Kopatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavenibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Nama Namo Mahabalanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratabhishe Namah. So reading from Sri Chaitanya Bhagawat by Srila Vrindaban Das Thakur. This is the with the translation by Sarva Bhavana Das, and this is Antya-khanda, chapter 9, the glories of Sri Adwaita Acharya. All glory to Sri Krishna Chaitanya, the beloved husband of the goddess of fortune, Sri Ramadevi, and the prime object of the devotion and love of the Vaishnavas. All victory to the Lord and Master of Vaikuntha, the most munificent personality. Kindly cast your merciful glance upon the living entities. So Vrindaban Das Thakur sees Mahaprabhu is Narayan, and the incarnation of Narayan, and Krishnadas Kaviraj sees him as the internally Krishna with the heart and halo of Radharani. So what's more prominent in the Chaitanya Bhagawat is the chapters before Mahaprabhu takes sannyas, and his aspect that in Navadip has been characterized as Gaur Narayan. That's the way I heard it, Guru Maharaj describe it. And through the Adi Leela and the Chaitanya, through the Adi Leela and the Adi-khanda and the Madhya Leela and Madhya-khanda, there is the same number of chapters in both the Chaitanya Bhagawat and the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But in the Antya-khanda, and they're different in content, but more or less there's some parallel. But in the Antya-khanda, and of course, Vrindaban Das Thakur wrote. He's the Adi Vyas. He wrote first. And then in the Antya-khanda, there's 10 chapters in the Chaitanya Bhagawat. And there's 20, I believe 20, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I believe it's 20 chapters. So it's more developed. Chaitanya Charitamrita is more developed after Mahaprabhu takes sannyas. Okay. So the devotees eagerly took advantage of the Lord's association and enjoyed every moment in the bliss of Sankirtan. When coming from Bengal, the devotees brought a variety of foods that they knew were the favorites of the Lord. They had seen the Lord as a youngster in Navadip, and so were well acquainted with the Lord's likes and dislikes. Now, in Nilachala, each group of Vaishnavas prepared the Lord's favorite dishes and invited him to eat. The Lord was extremely satisfied with this arrangement of taking prasadam in different Vaishnav homes every day and thus enjoyed his favorite preparations. Can someone get a glass of water? Okay. Oh, she'll get it.
I got it.
Okay. The Vaishnavis, the wives of exalted Vaishnavas, were expert cooks, being partial expansions of Srimati Lakshmi Devi, the wife of Sri Narayan, and the variety of preparations they made was astounding. All Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis were steeped in the ecstasy of chanting the holy name and serving the Lord. Thank you. They wept tears of joy continuously. They cooked his favorite foods, and the Lord ate with great exhilaration. This is the transcendental way of prema bhakti, the devotees blissfully serving the Lord and the Lord receiving the service of his beloved devotees with immense pleasure. One day, Srila Adwaita Acharya approached the Lord and said, "My dear Lord, kindly come to my house and take prasadam. Whatever little I cook, if you come, I will be blessed by your presence." Sri Krishna Chaitanya replied, "Anyone who eats your cooking is instantly rewarded with Krishna Bhakti, and thus he is sure to attain Sri Krishna. My dear Acharya, your cooking gives me life because Lord Krishna himself accepts your offerings of food. I would never hesitate to beg prasadam cooked by you." Sri Adwaita was heaved to such heights of ecstasy hearing these affectionate words from the Lord that he was at a loss for words. Bubbling with joy, Sri Adwaita ran to his home and busied himself with his wife to prepare for the Lord's cooking. His wife is a partial expansion and incarnation of Srimati Lakshmi Devi. Totally dedicated to her husband, she dived into the nectarine ocean of devotional service. All the different foodstuffs, which were the Lord's favorites, she had diligently packed in Navadip. Now she unpacked them and gave them all to her husband. Sri Adwaita Acharya sat down to cook, enthroning Sri Krishna Chaitanya in his heart and mind. Adwaita's wife, Sri Sita Devi, supplied all the vegetables and spices and looked after all the other pre-cooking arrangements while her husband began to cook. She knew the Lord relished shak, spinach, so she handed 10 varieties of spinach to her husband. Both were immersed in an ocean of bliss preparing the prasadam for the Lord. Sri Adwaita said to his wife, "O Mother of Krishnadas, Sita Devi, we must make sure the Lord tastes each and every course we prepare. If he is accompanied by other sannyasis and mahantas, then I know he will not take from every preparation. We expect that these sannyasis will sit down to eat with the Lord. They always wait and eat with the Lord because they relish the Lord's association so much." Srila Adwaita then began to consider in his mind, if a situation arises whereby the Lord comes alone, then I can feed him a little from everything I have cooked. How can I make this happen? While cooking, Sri Adwaita was thinking in this manner. And I've also experienced something of this when it's a feast day and they make so many nice preparations and everything, and then one's eating with so many devotees, which is natural. It's hard to really relish everything. But when one is seated alone and one's taking these things, then it becomes different. I don't know. Somebody could say, "Well, why? It's so nice to take prasadam with the devotees." Yes. Well, I'd say with that, well, still it's nicer. In those situations, personally, and this has nothing to do with what we're reading, but I would prefer less preparations and some that are especially succulent, that you really like. Meanwhile, the Supreme Lord, Sri Gaurasundar, after completing the chanting of a specified number of rounds upon his beads, decided to perform his daily noon rituals, such as Gayatri Japa and so on. Now, I'm not sure about the Lord chanting on beads. At some places I've read that he chanted on knotted cloth. So, but, the same. The sannyasis, who usually honored prasadam together with the Lord, also decided to complete their noon rituals and so went away. Suddenly a powerful storm brewed up, accompanied by torrential rains by the arrangement of Lord Indra, purely for the benefit of Sri Adwaita Acharya. Clouds loomed in the sky, and clouds of dust engulfed the houses below in darkness, raining down hell like pellets. Very heavy rain, dust clouds impeding vision, and hail falling. People caught in the storm lost their way, unable to see through the thickly flying dust. Miraculously, where Sri Adwaita was living, the rain and storm was mild, and the Acharya continued cooking. However, the sannyasis, who had dispersed earlier for their noon duties, were now completely lost and did not know how to find their way and meet up with one another. Unperturbed, Sri Adwaita completed cooking a very elaborate feast, varieties of rice preparations, delicacies from seasonal vegetables, ghee, buttercream, yogurt, and endless mouth-watering sweets. On every preparation, he placed tulasi manjaris and sat down to make the offering, immediately entering deep meditation with the sole intent of attracting Sri Gaurasundar to come alone. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is independent, and he decided to comply with Sri Adwaita's wish. By himself and chanting Hare Krishna, Lord Chaitanya appeared in person before Sri Adwaita. With great reverence, Sri Adwaita offered obeisances at the lotus feet of the Lord, and then offered him a mat upon which the Lord happily sat down. This is incredible. When Sri Adwaita noticed that the Lord was unaccompanied by anyone, he was extremely pleased. Together with his wife, he began to wash the Lord's lotus feet, and then applied sandalwood paste to the Lord, and after fanning him for a while, then requested him to accept prasadam. The Lord then sat down to eat, and Sri Adwaita personally served him. The Acharya served each preparation with the utmost care, while floating high on clouds of bliss. The Lord relished every morsel of prasadam, but made sure to leave little remnants from every preparation on his plate. The Lord smilingly asked the Acharya, "Do you know why I'm keeping these remnants? I want to know the way of preparation of each dish, so I am keeping a little of everything. Tell me something, Acharya. Where did you learn to cook so expertly? I have never eaten such wonderful spinach dishes in such variety." Whatever Sri Adwaita served, the Lord ate with utmost satisfaction. The Supreme Lord is like a wish-fulfilling desire tree who joyfully satisfies the desires of his devotees. Adwaita Acharya served to his heart's content with the Lord, and the Lord relished to his heart's content. While the Lord took prasadam, Sri Adwaita offered grateful prayers to Lord Indra. He prayed, "O Lord Indra, today I have realized the extent of your power and potency. Today I have become convinced that you are a true Vaishnava. From today onwards, I will offer you flowers and water, for you have purchased me." Overhearing Sri Adwaita praying, the Lord inquired, "You are suddenly offering prayers and praises to Lord Indra? What is the reason for this?" Sri Adwaita replied, "My Lord, you are eating. Kindly continue. You have no business hearing about this." To this the Lord knowingly smiled and said, "Why do you attempt to hide, Acharya? This sudden, unreasonable, pulsating rainstorm, hail, and gusty gale is all you're doing. I know this for sure. I will tell you the real reason why you made Lord Indra unleash this inclement weather. You know that if the sannyasis accompanied me here to take prasadam, I would hardly eat anything. However, if I came alone, then you could fulfill your heart's desire and feed me as much as you like. Therefore, to hinder the sannyasis from coming, you have created this chaos. The fact that Indra carried out your orders does not display the true extent of your real spiritual potency. It is truly Indra's great fortune that he could serve you. For a person such as you, whose wishes even the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna readily fulfills, and who is able to make Sri Krishna personally appear on this earth, and whose every request Sri Krishna readily carries out, for such a person surely it is merely child's play to orchestrate a lashing rainstorm. Yamaraj, the Lord of Death and Time, is your order carrier, and great yogis and sages pray at your feet, and anyone can break the chain of material bondage simply by remembering you. Therefore, for you to arrange a little rain and storm is nothing. Nobody knows your real identity. By your mercy alone can one develop pure devotion. Sri Adwaita replied, My Lord, you are a loving guardian to your servitors. This knowledge gives me all-round strength in my body, mind, and words. All the potency I have is simply based on the strength of my devotion to you. Thus I always pray to you for the boon that you may never leave me at any time. In this manner, the two Supreme Personalities enjoyed their conversation, and the Lord completed his prasadam with great pleasure. These words spoken by Sri Adwaita were truly meant. Undoubtedly, those fools who are not pleased by hearing these words are despicable upstarts and offenders whose face Sri Adwaita would never want to see. The bond of love that exists between the Supreme Lord Hari and Lord Shiva is completely true, but the gross materialists have no understanding of this relationship. These lords, Hari and Shiva, become most displeased if either one of them is shown disrespect. Similar to the affectionate dealings between Hari and Shiva is the bond of love and devotion between Sri Chaitanya and Sri Adwaita Acharya. So as Vrindaban Thakur sees Mahaprabhu as Narayan, Gaur Narayan, and as also he sees Sri Adwaita Acharya as Sadashiva. So that's why he's describing like this. And there may and there is some also in the background I consider could be in the background not all of Adwaita's sons accepted Mahaprabhu. So yeah. But Achyutananda and two others they did. Sri Adwaita Acharya continuously speaks in this manner because he is always concerned in his compassionate heart about the well-being of all the conditioned souls. One who can comprehend the words of Sri Adwaita will automatically understand that there is no difference between him and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any person who hears the narrations of these pastimes with faith and devotion will surely develop pure devotion for Sri Krishna, the most auspicious benediction. Thus, after completely satisfying Sri Adwaita in every respect, the Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya returned to his home. The Lord greatly satisfied all his devotees like Srila, Srivas Thakur, and many, many others by happily taking prasadam in their homes and spent the balance of his time in leading his devotees. No. The Lord greatly satisfied all his devotees like Srila Srivas Thakur and many, many others by happily taking prasadam in their homes and spent the balance of his time in leading his devotees in the performance of congregational chanting of the holy name and dancing in ecstasy. When Sri Damodar Pandit arrived in Puri, the Lord wanted to speak to him confidentially about his own mother, Sri Sachi Devi, whom Sri Damodar Pandit had visited in Navadip prior to his journey to Puri. The Lord inquired, Dear Pandit, you stay with my mother in Navadip. Tell me truly, does my mother possess any devotion to the Supreme Lord Sri Vishnu? Srila Damodar Pandit is a great tapasvi who has performed a lot of penances and austerities and an incorrigible, unprejudiced devotee. Thus the question enraged him, and he retorted, "O Lord, did you ask if Mother I," that's Sachi, "did you ask if Mother I has any devotion to the Supreme Lord? What prompts you to inquire about this? All the devotion you possess is by the grace of Mother I, Sachi Devi. By her spiritual potency, you have developed devotion for Sri Vishnu. Undoubtedly, this is the truth. The transcendental physical transformations of ecstasy, such as weeping, trembling, perspiring, swooning, horripilation, roaring, etc., manifest upon her person in continuous waves, and the holy name is constantly upon her lips. My Lord, you wanted to know about the devotion of Mother I. From what I have seen, she represents devotion to the Supreme Lord and is the very embodiment of Vishnu Bhakti. My Lord, you know all this, yet you ask me, probably to test me. Certainly, if anyone utters I, even considering I a mundane word, by the influence of the transcendental sound vibration of I, he will be delivered from all his suffering. Sri Gaurachandra. So sometimes persons go, I, especially if they're. I've met devotees who go like that. I.
Maybe a long time ago.
Huh?
Maybe a long time ago, right?
Maybe what?
A long time ago.
No. Some devotees, I don't know if they're from which part of the country they're from. Like
Ireland,
no,
Irish,
well,
English.
I know that if you listen to, he doesn't say I, but he keeps on saying, yeah, you know, yeah. That's Giridhari. Giridhari, he's from what is it? Michigan, but not any of the cities. And it's a common among kind of like people in that parts of the country which are Scandinavian. And they go, if you listen to Giridhar, he goes, yeah, I came here, yeah, and I'm he says, yeah. But I've also heard persons go, I. Sri Gaurachandra was...
title for Mother Sachi.
Yeah. Sri Gaurachandra was overcome with immense jubilation upon hearing the glories of Sri Sachi Mata from Sri Damodar Pandit. He embraced Pandita Damodar repeatedly and said, Dear Damodar, today you have purchased me by revealing your mind to me. Whatever devotion I possess is only by the grace of Mother I. Of this there is no doubt. I am in this world by her desire alone, and I will never be able to repay my indebtedness to her. My dear Damodar, I am held captive by her. I always desire to see her. Showering his God's mercy on Damodar Pandit, the Lord made him sit next to him with the other devotees. The real reason why Sri Gaurachandra asked about the devotion of Sri Sachi Mata was to instruct human society. When friends meet, they generally inquire from each other, are you well? To highlight the real import of the words well-being, the Lord asked this question, for the real meaning of being well is to have devotion. If one actually possesses bhakti, then one is automatically well. But without bhakti, even a king leads an inauspicious, unwholesome life. A person may have wealth, fame, luxury, and everything, yet without devotion, all is naught and valueless. Someone may not have anything to eat, the height of paucity, but if one has devotion to the Supreme Lord, one is indeed the wealthiest person. When anyone invited the Lord for prasadam at his home, the Lord used the invitation as a means to instruct everyone. Similarly, he would say, first you become a lakpati, the possessor of 100,000 gold coins. Then I will come. I accept invitations only from Lakpatis. The Brahmins would become extremely worried. They would approach the Lord and pray, "My Lord, what to speak of 100,000? None of us has even 1,000. And if you do not visit our homes, then they might as well be burnt to ashes." The Supreme Lord, Sri Gaurahari, would then say, "Do you know the real meaning of one who is actually a Lakpati? The one who regularly chants 100,000 names of Krishna is, according to me, a Lakpati. I accept prasadam only in his home, not in the home of others." When the Brahmins would hear this pronouncement of Sri Gaurahari, they were relieved and began to rejoice. They said, "My Lord, we will chant 100,000 names. Kindly come to our homes. It is our immense good fortune that you instruct us in this manner." Thus all the Brahmins started to regularly chant 100,000 names of Krishna, so that the Lord would accept prasadam in their homes. 100,000 names is 64 rounds. Okay. The Supreme Lord, the Lord of Vaikuntha, in this manner inspired everyone to embrace the path of Bhakti Yoga while he himself floated upon the ocean of Bhakti Ras. The prime reason for the descent of the Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya was to inspire the mass of population to embrace Bhakti. Thus, Sri Gaurahari never questioned anyone about a topic not related to Bhakti. We heard also in the Gaudiya Math, they were instructed to chant 64 rounds every day. Not the devotees who were in the temple doing service every day, but generally the grihastas living outside, they were instructed to chant 64 rounds a day. Sri Gaurahari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, continued, "For a devotee of Sri Krishna, well-being and auspiciousness are constant companions. The Lord refused to associate with even look at a person who did not glorify devotional service. One day he asked his guru, Sri Keshavarti, about Bhakti and Gyan, which is greater, Bhakti or Gyan? Dear Master, please consider well before answering, and your answer should be unequivocal. Sri Bharati pondered for a while and then said, after due deliberation, I have arrived at the conclusion that Bhakti is superior. The Lord retorted, why do you say Bhakti is superior? All the sannyasis assert that Gyan, not Bhakti, is superior. To this, Sri Bharati remarked, they do not understand the scriptural imports. One has to follow the path trodden by the previous Acharyas and Mahajans, preceptors, and great devotional authorities. The entire Vedic scripture exhort all to follow in the footsteps of the Mahajans. But the foolish disobey these instructions and take to deviant paths. All the scriptures are full with the exemplary lives and devotional teachings of the Mahajans, such as Brahma, Shiva, Narada, Prahlad, Sukadeva, Vyasa, Sanaka, and the Kumaras, Yudhishthir, Priyavrata, Prithu, Dhruva, Akrura, Uddhava, and so on. These Mahajans always pray at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, asking for bhakti alone. If Gyan were the superior of the two, why do they beg for bhakti? Are we to think that the Mahajans reject mukti, liberation, without proper and careful consideration, and mistakenly opt for bhakti at all times? In the Srimad Bhagavatam, we discover the boon that Lord Brahma asked from the Supreme Lord Vishnu. My dear Supreme Lord, whether as Brahma, as a bird, or even a beast, may I have the good fortune of being born as one of your devotees, so that I may serve your lotus feet. Thus we see that without exception, all the Mahajans pray to attain bhakti. This truth is substantiated in the Vishnu Purana. O Supreme Lord Achyuta, it matters little in which of the hundreds and thousands of different species that I may take my birth, for my only desire is that bhakti, undeviating, uninterrupted devotional service to you always remains enthroned in my heart. O Lord Rishikesh, by the result of my karma, let me be born in any species of life. All I desire is that in each of these species of life, I may attain unwavering devotion to you. So that's says Vishnu Purana 1:20-18. The Mahabharata, Vanaparva, I guess the number, states, dry arguments are inconclusive. A thinker and scholar whose opinions and views do not differ from others is not considered a great sage. Merely by studying the Vedas, with its numerous schools of thought and departments of knowledge, it is impossible to choose the right path that leads to the proper understanding of the true religious principles. True religious principles are hidden in the hearts of the non-envious saintly souls. Thus the scriptures exhort all to follow the path associated by these Mahajans, the great authoritative devotional personalities. When Sri Chaitanya heard from Sri Keshavarti that Bhakti was the superior, he began to chant, Hari, Hari, loudly, and in great jubilation he said, truly I say to you, the whole purpose of my descent to earth for so long is to establish the preeminence of Bhakti overall. Of Bhakti overall. Sri Bharti, if you had said Gyan was the superior, then indeed I would have entered the ocean. Feeling immense satisfaction in his heart, the Lord fell at the feet of his guru and embraced them. With the greatest affection, Sri Keshavarti also offered respects to the Lord. The Lord then said, one who does not speak about the glories of Bhakti, his austerities, penances, keeping of a shika, wearing of a sacred thread, and renunciation are all useless. The Lord is not interested in discussing any topic other than Bhakti, and in this incarnation, Sri Chaitanya himself is the embodiment of Bhakti. All his speech, thoughts, and activities are steeped in Bhakti. The devotees never see him doing anything other than dancing, kirtan, and loud chanting. One day, Sri Adwaita Acharya, immersed in divine bliss, said to all the devotees, my dear Vaishnava brothers, let us sing today only about Sri Krishna Chaitanya, for he is the fountainhead of all incarnations. Today we will not sing about any other incarnations of Godhead. He has delivered the whole universe and is invented only for our sake. Today we devotees are respected simply because Sri Gauranga has himself propagated the congregational chanting of the holy name, the most valuable treasure in all the three worlds. You all sing his glories and I will dance. If you are fearful that the Lord will find out, then sing more loudly to drown out your fears. Sri Chaitanya was always trying to hide his real identity, so the devotees were afraid to sing about him as the Supreme Lord, lest he would find out. However, they could not disregard the instructions of Sri Adwaita. Therefore, they began to sing about Sri Gauranga while Sri Adwaita danced with bubbling exhilaration. The devotees experienced unbounded joy as they sang about the eternally new and unique incarnation of Godhead, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Adwaita then took the lead himself in singing his own composition. He sang, Sri Chaitanya is none other than Narayan, the ocean of mercy, friend to the distressed and suffering. Please, Lord, be kind to me. Other devotees, as led by him, sang, all glory to Sachinandana, the son of Sri Sachimata. All glory to Sri Gaurachandra, the Supreme Lord of Vaikuntha. All glory to Gaur Gopal, who loves Sankirtan, who is beloved of the devotees, and who is death personified to the atheistic demons. Sri Adwaita danced, oblivious to the external world, and the devotees glorified the transcendental qualities and activities of Sri Chaitanya. See how Sri Chaitanya, the Supreme Godhead, sings in jubilation and rolls in the dust in ecstasy. He is the Lord of Vaikuntha, but is incarnated as a Brahman to propagate and himself relish Sankirtan. His bodily luster puts the brilliance of gold to shame. His beauty is a matchless sight. His hands extend down to his knees. He wears the robes of a renunciate and becomes inebriated with the ambrosia of his divine self. How skillfully he dances. Then Sri Adwaita began to sing another composition of his own. All victory to Sri Gaurasundar, the ever-expanding ocean of compassion. All glory to the Prince of Vrindaban. Yet now he has appeared as the hero of Navadip. Now, I like this translation. It's very nice. English, I think, is well composed. But if you see the Chaitanya Bhagawat with the Bengali, you can probably see these songs that Adwaita Acharya is singing. Just like the song we sing on Ekadasi, what is it? Shri Hari, what was called Shri Hari Kirtan?
Shri Hari Basadi.
Shri Hari Basadi Gita. Giti.
Yeah.
Yes, that song is in the Chaitanya Bhagawat.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Huh.
Yeah, and I believe there's another song.
There's another song by Vrindaban. Is it Jayaraj? No, that's Kaviraj Goswami, that song. Jayaraj.
But I know that Sri Hari Vasari Gita. Okay. So probably these songs are there too. All victory to Sri Gaurasundar, the ever-expanding ocean of compassion. All glory to the Prince of Vrindaban, yet he has appeared as the hero of Navadip. Kindly offer to me the cooling shade of your lotus feet. Gradually picking up in tempo, the kirtan built up with the devotees experiencing increasing joy, and Sri Adwaita danced tirelessly, thinking only of the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya. The compositions were new to the devotees, so they enjoyed the kirtan even more. The ecstasy that descended upon the devotees is indescribable. Only Sri Nityananda could fully narrate this wonderful happening. Hearing loudly, and of course we hear so much about Nityananda from Vrindaban Das Thakur, because he's the disciple of Nityananda Prabhu. And he's always glorifying Nityananda Prabhu. Hearing loudly and clearly the full-throated kirtan, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, the crest jewel of all sannyasis, arrived at the venue. The Lord beheld a magnificent scene where the devotees were radiant with divine bliss as Sri Adwaita danced in ecstasy. The devotees felt no fear as they loudly and openly sang his glories as he stood there in person. Sri Chaitanya had always maintained a mood of humble servitorship to the Supreme Lord. He always repeated, "I am the servant of Lord Sri Krishna." No one had ever dared to call him the Supreme Lord in his presence. However, now on the strength of the potency and position of Sri Adwaita, the devotees sang fearlessly, glorifying Sri Chaitanya as the Supreme Godhead. Listening to his own glorification, for a short while, he seemed to feel ashamed. The Supreme Lord is the original Siksha Guru, instructing spiritual master of the universe, and therefore he quietly left the venue just to teach everyone the proper etiquette. This, however, did not deter the devotees from singing even more loudly the glories of Sri Chaitanya. The devotees were so steeped in Kirtan Ras that they completely forgot themselves. Each of them saw a Sri Chaitanya amongst themselves participating in the Kirtan. They became like madmen, intoxicated with the ambrosia of the glories of the glories of Sri Gaurasundar. The pious were very jubilant upon hearing the glories of the Lord, but out of envy, the impious were disgruntled. These fools and rascals who are not pleased to hear the divine excellences of Sri Chaitanya, even if some of them are big brahmacharis and sannyasis, what is the use of them? What is the use to them of this rarely attained human life? In this manner, the devotees were immersed in Sankirtan Ras all the time. Whosoever hears or reads these narrations of ecstatic devotional activities is factually granted the opportunity to be amidst these wonderful pastimes in spirit. After a long and enthusiastic kirtan, the devotees went to take darshan of Sri Gaurahari. However, the Lord, after returning from the kirtan where he had been glorified, lay down and seemed quite upset. Sri Govinda, the servant of the Lord, came and informed the Lord that all the Vaishnavas were waiting at his door, hoping to see him. The Lord instructed Sri Govinda to usher everyone inside. The Lord remained lying and did not look at anyone, and so the devotees became quite nervous and afraid and began to pray quietly remembering the lotus feet of the Lord. After a short time, the Lord, the loving guardian of his devotees, got up and asked, "Noble Srivas Pandit and my dear Vaishnavas, leaving aside the singing of the name and glories of Sri Krishna, whom did you choose today as an avatar? What were you singing today? Can you explain this to me?" Endowed with great orational skill, Sri Srivas Pandit replied, "My lord, the jivas are not independent entities. Like puppets, they do and say only as the Supreme Controller wishes. This is what has occurred today. We sang what the Supreme Controller wanted us to sing." The Lord retorted, "You and others are erudite scholars, so why do you expose that which is meant to be a secret?" Sri Srivas Pandit mimed by putting up his hands skyward as if trying to shade his eyes from the glare of the sun. He seemed to be smiling within himself. So Srivas Pandit put his hand up trying to block the sun. The Lord then inquired, "Dear Srivas Pandit, what is the meaning of your mime? Will you explain?" Srivas Pandit replied, "Clearly I'm trying to cover the sun with my hands. However, is it possible to cover the sun with the palm of one's hand? Similarly, it is possible to hide your fame? Even if the sun may be covered with the palm, yet there is no way you can hide yourself. The Supreme Personality, who could not remain hidden within the milk ocean, how can he be hidden in the midst of the teeming masses? From the Himalayas to Rameshwaram and to the very boundaries of the world, your fame and glories are as self-evident as the sun." So Rameshwaram, that's in South India, right? Yeah, I think it's in Tamil Nadu. In fact, Satyaloka, the abode of Lord Brahma, is now reverberating with kirtans that glorify you. How many of us are you going to punish for this? The Supreme Personality of Godhead is famous for championing his beloved devotees, and just then a wonderful miracle occurred. Thousands of visitors who had come to see Lord Jagannath were now on the doorsteps of Sri Gaurahari's home, anxious to see him. They had all come from different parts of the country. Some were from Tripura, others from Chattogram, a group from Srihata, many from Bengal, and so on. Thousands of voices sang the glories of Sri Chaitanya. All glory to Sri Krishna Chaitanya, the tender of the forest of devotion, the Supreme One who relishes devotional service unto himself. All victory to the Supreme Lord, who has put on the robes of a renunciant. He is Murari, Krishna himself, and is now addicted to constant and ecstatic kirtan. All victory to you, the king of twice-born Brahmins, the hero of Vaikuntha, the supreme benefactor of the universe. All glory to you, O Sri Krishna Chaitanya, the son of Sri Sachimata. Thousands sang and danced in ecstasy. Srivas Pandit then said to the Lord, "My Lord, what will you do now? Where will you hide? The whole world is singing your glories." As we heard just now, my Lord, although you are invisible, imperceptible, and unmanifest, yet out of your causeless mercy you have personally appeared. You hide yourself, and then by your will alone you manifest yourself. Only those who are recipients of your divine grace are able to know this truth. Sri Gaura Sundar replied, "You, Srivas, have displayed your spiritual potency by making the people sing kirtan, and I have been thus defeated by you. Truly, you are empowered with the fullest potency of bhakti." It is a well-known truth that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always eager to increase the fame and influence of his devotees. This is his natural disposition, which is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and in fact, all the Vedas. Sri Chaitanya then bade farewell to all the Vaishnavas with a beatific smile on his face. The Lord is full of paternal love and protectiveness for his devotees, and the devotees all glorify him as Sri Krishna. All the stalwart Vaishnavas All the stalwart Vaishnavas like Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Adwaita Acharya, and others unanimously assert that Sri Krishna Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet the unfortunate and ignorant public do not heed the words of these Supreme Personalities. Indeed, they falsely proclaim mortal jivas as incarnations of Sri Krishna. The divine symptoms that embellish only the Supreme Lord are that he lies on the bed of Sri Ananta Sage, is served by the goddess of fortune, Sri Lakshmi Devi. His chest is marked with the Sripad sign. The Kaustuba jewel adorns his necklace. His carrier, Sri Garuda, and Sri Ganga Devi emanates from his lotus feet. All the revealed scriptures and saintly Vaishnavas unequivocally declare that none other than the Supreme Lord, Sri Chaitanya, alone possesses these divine symbols. All who accept with good faith these instructions of the Vaishnavas are surely blessed with all-round victory and success. Sri Krishna Chaitanya always gave his transcendental association to all the Vaishnavas, and being thus surrounded by pure devotees, all the time Sri Chaitanya was like the effulgent moon flanked on all sides by bright stars. The devotees sat around him, and Sri Chaitanya, the Lord of Vaikuntha, sat in the midst as the crest jewel of the sannyas order, chanting the name of Krishna incessantly. So I'm going to stop here. We'll continue. Afterwards, I have some things to discuss with you.
Okay. I have a Zoom meeting at 9:30.
Oh, it's getting
I'll
close.
come and see you afterwards.
Okay.
If you come by 10:30.
10:30 is when I have a Zoom meeting with England.
Zoom meetings are clashing with each other.
Maybe we can talk for 5 minutes or so. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Jaravaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Maranaman Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Adwaita Chandra Ganadhara Shiva Sadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raguna Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raguna Jai Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan Jao ite vignana shamista puran Hey Jai Gosai Jar Mui Taradas Kasabar Padarenu Mora Panchagras Kader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanivas Janame Janame More Abilas jabe braje koilabas. Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash. Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindaban. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Amman. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koryas. Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Narada Hamodas. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koryas. Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Narada Hamodas. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gora Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo.
Jai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo.
Nitai Gora Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo.
Jai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo.
Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. Jai Saparikara Shishi, Guru Garanga Garbika Giridhari Ju ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paramahansa Acharya Ashtatara Sadashi Srimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paramahansa Acharya Ashtatara Sadashi Srimad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sriradev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Varga ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu ki Jai. Premsigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Adwaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Srila Vrindaban Das Thakur ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Bhagawat ki Jai. Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki Jai. Nartam Srinivas Shamananda Prabhu ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vishvavarenya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Kusham Ashram Maharaj ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Jai. Shri Navadip Dham ki Jai. Shri Ram Mayapur ki Jai. Saparshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki Jai. Saparshada Shriman Mahaprabhu ki Jai. Shri Koladvip ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki Jai. Soquel Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Seva Ashram ki Jai. Ganga Devi ki Jai. Tulasi Maharani ki Jai. Bhakti Devi ki Jai. Shri Vrindaban Dham ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopi Govardhan Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Kaladi Yamuna Ju ki Jai. Shri Purushottam Dham ki Jai. Baladev Subhadra Jagannath Ju ki Jai. Bhakti Vigna Vinashaya Shrina Sringadev ki Jai. Bhakta Pravara Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai. Shri Vishaka Devidasi ki Jai. Shri Hari Balaba Prabhu ki Jai. All the assembled devotees ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Can you push, it says finish on this phone. Just push that button where it says finish with your finger. You see it? It's there.
Yes.
Okay.